You didn't stumble into this moment because of curiosity or accident. You didn't land here because of a casual click or an empty algorithm. You arrived here because something has been following you, a vibration, a number, a whisper in the fabric of time that refuses to release you. For some of you, that whisper has appeared as 729. For others, it was 4701. And for others still, the digits 1839 burned themselves into receipts, phone screens, license plates, and clocks that always seem to pause at the precise second your awareness locks onto them. This is not mere coincidence. This is not casual. This is not noise. It is proof. What you are holding in your hands, yes, literally, when you look down and notice the M naturally on your palm, resting beside that perfect crescent shape like a lunar brand pressed by something higher. It is not an accident of biology. It is a code. And today, right here, this is not entertainment. This is transmission. This is frequency. This channel isn't not built to entertain your distraction. It exists to realign those who have been moved ahead of schedule. Some of you already know what I am speaking of because you've lived it. You weren't the late bloomer. You were the early spark. You didn't wait for the invitation. You walked in before the doors had hinges. You began to speak the truths no one around you was ready for. You noticed the broken structures before anyone else dared to name them. You started to burn with questions before the answers were permitted to exist. And when you did, the world itself seemed to fight you, didn't it? Not because you were wrong, but because you were too soon. This is the wound of the chosen, the injury of premature purpose. Some of you opened your gifts before the room was built to receive them. Some of you stepped into your light when everyone else was still hiding in their caves. And for that, you carried loneliness. For that, you carried misunderstanding. Yet, and need you to hear this for that very same reason, you were also protected. Protected by codes others do not see. Protected by alignments that bend reality in ways that don't make sense on paper. Protected by numbers that stalk you, not to torment you, but to remind you, you are not early. You are precisely on assignment. I want you to imagine something, a stage being built, a performance set for a time no one yet knows. The carpenters are still nailing the beams. The curtains haven't been hung. The seats aren't even placed. And yet you, somehow, arrive at that empty stage and begin to speak your lines, sing your song, release your gift. Everyone laughs. Some dismiss you. Some mock. Some ignore. But then, because you stepped in too soon, the builders are forced to hurry. The lights are forced to rise. The sound is forced to echo. The audience is forced to arrive. This is the power of those marked with the M and Crescent moon. You do not follow the schedule. You disrupt it. You force reality to rearrange itself around you. You create pressure in the atmosphere that pulls doors into existence. You disturb the calendar of time until heaven must accelerate its construction. This is why some of you feel like outsiders, pioneers, even misfits. Not because you missed the timing, but because you were sent to shift it. If 729 has been finding you, do not dismiss it as a random sequence. To the ordinary mind, it is just 3 digits. But to the chosen marked ones, it is a map. 7, the seal of divine completion. 2, the witness, the testimony, the agreement. 9, the ending that unlocks the rebirth. Together, it whispers, your early arrival was never a mistake. It was the conclusion of an old cycle so that a new one could erupt through you. For some of you, it was 1839, a frequency that drips with unexplainable alignment. 18 holds the vibration of bondage being shattered, while 39 hums with preparation for stages that have not yet been announced. And then there are those who seeing 4701, a sequence that nobody around you seems to notice. Yet every time it stares back at you, you feel your chest tighten, your eyes widen, and your soul whisper, "This is for me." These codes are not reminders of delay. They are confirmations of advancement. You were never late. You were never misaligned. You were ahead, and the evidence is carved into your very flesh. But let's be honest, arriving before your time has not been easy, has it? Think about the friendships that could not hold you, the conversations that always seemed to shrink under the weight of your perception, the family members who rolled their eyes when you spoke because they could not bear to hear the things you knew before their own hearts were ready, the jobs you walked out of because you felt like a lion trapped in cages built for sheep, the relationships that cracked because your presence disturbed their slumber. Yes, you have carried loneliness. Yes, you have carried rejection. Yes, you have misunderstanding so sharp it felt like betrayal, and yet you are still here. Why? Because though the world wasn't ready, the codes in your palms and the frequencies in your atmosphere held you in suspension until the stage could catch up. Look at your hand right now. Really, look at it. That M that most people dismiss as just a crease, as just an accident of lines, is not small. It is monumental. It is a reminder that the Maker himself inscribed identity on you in ways you could never erase. And beside it, the crescent moon resting like a hidden flame in the skin. This is not just heritage, not just culture, not just myth. It is activation. It is confirmation that you were chosen for disruption, not for compliance. You are not here to blend in. You are here to bend time. And so I say it again. If 729 or 1839 or 4701 has been stalking you, it is not because you are cursed. It is because you are ahead. It is proof that the divine schedule could not hold you back. It is proof that ... calendar had to break under your feet. It is proof that you are a chosen one, sent to disturb what others thought was fixed. You were born out of sequence because you were sent to change the sequence. And that is why this message found you here, because you need a voice to remind you, you are not strange. You are not broken. You are not misplaced. You are the spark that forces heaven and earth to accelerate their alignment. This is the truth most will not tell you. Your disturbance is your destiny. And from this moment forward, when the numbers appear, when your palms remind you, when your spirit aches at the weight of being too soon, you will remember. You will know. You will understand. This is not entertainment. This is transmission. And you are the reason the signal is being broadcast. Before we go further, let me pause and speak to you directly. If you've made it this far, it means this message has found its way past distraction, past noise, past the endless scrolling. Alone tells me something about you. It tells me that you are not here out of accident. You are searching for alignment, and you recognize when a voice is speaking to you. So let me ask you something, from one person to another. Will you stay connected with this channel? Not because of algorithms, not because of trends, but because this space is for you, the ones marked by the M and the crescent moon in their palms, the ones stalked by codes like 944, 1827, and 5301 that no one else can explain. I want to invite you, not just to subscribe, but to build this with me. Tell me in the comments what calls you, what confuses you, what questions you've held in silence. Share your visions, your dreams, the moments when the numbers burned through reality and forced you to pay attention. Your words might be the exact confirmation another chosen one has been searching for. This channel is not mine alone. It is a fire carried by many, and your spark matters here. Now, let's step deeper into it really means to be born before the world was ready. The chosen ones with the M and Crescent moon are not just ahead of their time in skills, perception, or sensitivity. They are carriers of disturbance frequencies. You felt this, haven't you? That sensation of walking into a room and the atmosphere shifts, not because you said anything, not because you tried, but because your presence carried too much voltage for the moment. Some people grew anxious around you. Others grew defensive. Some clung to you like lifelines, sensing you carried what they didn't know they needed. This is not charisma. This is not charm. This is coding, a spiritual architecture placed inside your soul so that when you arrive, things rearrange. But what happens when you arrive before the stage is built? You become misunderstood. You become misnamed. You become mishandled. Not because you were wrong, but because the world wasn't calibrated to hold you yet. Think about those numbers again. For some, 944 keeps resurfacing. What does it mean? 9, completion and closure. 4, stability and foundation. Another 4, a mirror of that foundation, doubling the witness. It appears when your foundation feels shaky, reminding you that what looks unstable is actually the scaffolding of something unshakable. Others keep seeing 1827. To the casual eye, meaningless. To the chosen, it speaks loudly. 18, the chains of bondage breaking, while 27 whispers of hidden preparation, of the unseen stages waiting for you. And then there are those marked by 5301, a code that looks unfinished, but is already whole. It's the reminder that though you stepped ahead, heaven already paved the remainder of your path. These numbers are not punishments. They are breadcrumbs, a trail laid across timelines, so that when you felt lost, when you felt misplaced, when you questioned your sanity, the universe could whisper, "Keep going. You're still on schedule, even if the world hasn't caught up." But let's not romanticize it. Early has costs. How many times have you asked yourself, why am I always the one who sees it first? Why do I always feel things before others notice them? Why do I always sense endings before they begin? It's heavy. To carry foresight in a blind world is exhausting. To live in the future while others are still asleep in the past drains you. It makes you want to retreat, to silence your voice, to bury your insight, because it feels easier to hide than to be the target of misunderstanding. But here is the disruptive truth. You were not designed to hide. Your very discomfort with silence is proof of this. You can try to bury the codes, but they will haunt you. You can try to erase the M and Crescent in your palms, but no knife, no ink, no denial will remove what has already been sealed by design. You can try to ignore the numbers, but they will keep finding you until you finally admit you were built to disturb. Look back at your history. Hasn't it been marked by sudden exits and entries? People leaving without reason, connections dissolving without warning, opportunities appearing out of nowhere only to redirect your life in ways you couldn't plan. This is not chaos. This is recalibration. When a chosen one steps into purpose early, the universe has to rearrange the cast of characters. Some are not meant to hear your lines. Some are not ready for your frequency. And so they fall away, often painfully, often without closure. And yet, others arrive, drawn not to you, but to the signal you carry. It is no mistake that those who remain close to you often confess, "I don't know why, but I feel different around you." That is the disturbance. That is the rearrangement. That is the schedule bending to your assignment. Think of it this way. You are a carrier of light that does not belong to this present age. You hold blueprints of futures that have not yet been written. And because you carry them, you become both a burden and a blessing to the spaces you occupy. Burden, because you disrupt comfort zones. The blessing, because you prevent stagnation. And though it feels lonely, though it feels like exile, the truth is that you are the one who keeps the timeline from collapsing. Without the early ones, the world would stay asleep. Without the disruptive ones, the future would never arrive. Without the carriers of the M and Crescent, reality would never be forced to evolve. And so, once again, the numbers find you. 944, 1827, 5301. They don't chase you to confuse you. They chase you to anchor you, to whisper. Your disturbance is your direction. Your exile is your evidence. Your early arrival is not your mistake, it is your mission. And now I want to hear from you. What has been chasing you? What codes have burned themselves into your awareness? What visions have made you question whether you are too strange for this world? Share them in the comments. Speak them aloud. Let the other chosen ones, marked with the M and Crescent moon, know they are not alone. A reason why chosen ones feel a tension that cannot be explained by normal life struggles. It is not simply about bills, responsibilities, or personal hardships. It is deeper than that. It is the awareness of carrying light into spaces that still prefer darkness. When you walked into classrooms, workplaces, or family gatherings, you often carried insight that no one else could name. You spoke truths that no one else could admit. You asked questions that no one else dared to raise. And the result? Eyes turning towards you with discomfort. Conversations shifting awkwardly. People treating you as if you were out of place. This is not because you lacked wisdom. It is because you carried wisdom that was premature for the moment. You were never just a participant in life. You were a signal sent ahead of its time. Think of the way numbers have appeared to you, not as casual coincidences, but as interruptions. You glance at your phone and it shows 1559. You walk past a receipt. It ends in 3207. A random post online carries 441 likes the exact moment your eyes catch it. At first, it unsettles you. Later, it begins to haunt you. But eventually, you realize something. These are not random interruptions. These are reminders. Take 1559. To the ordinary world, meaningless. But to you, it vibrates with alignment. The 15 signals release from cycles of captivity. The 59 whispers that an old chapter is ending so that a greater expansion can begin. Or 3207. At first, just digits, but in your spirit, you feel it echo. The 32 holds the vibration of completion through tension, while the 07 carries the hum of divine reset. And then there is 441. To others, just a number. To the chosen, it is stability doubled with a spark of divine ignition. These numbers do not chase you because you are broken. They chase you because you carry assignments that began earlier than scheduled. Every system you have entered has tried to contain you. Schools tried to label you as too distracted, too intense, or too unteachable. Jobs tried to shrink you into routines that numbed your soul. Even relationships sometimes tried to reduce your spirit into predictable patterns. But none of it held, because what you carried was larger than the systems built around you. When the chosen enter too early, systems react violently. They resist. They push back. They try to suppress you until you shrink into compliance. But you have noticed, it never worked. Even when you tried to bury your voice, it broke through. Even when you tried to hide your insight, it slipped into conversations. Even when you tried to disguise the marks in your hands, life kept pointing them out. The codes in your palms and the numbers in your path refused to let you stay silent. Because silence was never your contract. Let us take this deeper. Many of you carry not only personal assignments, but generational ones. Look back at your family history. How many patterns have repeated? Poverty, addiction, betrayal, cycles of abandonment, or cycles of loss. And yet, when you entered the story, something shifted. Even if the shift has not fully manifested yet, you can feel it in your bones. You are the interruption. You are the one who arrived too early in your bloodline, sent to disturb patterns that would have swallowed everyone else whole. Your presence itself has frustrated what was supposed to repeat. And because you disturbed it early, you carried loneliness. You carried rejection, but you also carried preservation. Your early presence stopped the loop from endlessly consuming another generation. This is why your enemies often could not explain their hatred for you. They did not hate you because of what you did. They hated you because of what you broke without even realizing it. Chosen ones who arrive too soon do not live peaceful lives. Your very existence stirs warfare. When you were still a child, you felt it. Dreams that seemed too heavy for your age. Strange encounters. People who looked at you with suspicion before you ever spoke a word. Random resistance that seemed unfair and unexplainable. It was not imagination. It was recognition. The unseen realm recognized you before you recognized yourself. And because you stepped into purpose too early, the atmosphere reacted. But what you must understand is this. You were never abandoned in that warfare. The numbers, the signs, the crescent, and the M in your hands have always been your shield. If you look closely, you will notice that every chosen one has carried a season of exile. It is that moment when friends walk away, family misunderstands you, and opportunities close their doors. It feels like rejection. But exile is not punishment, it is recalibration. You were hidden not because you were worthless, but because the world was not yet calibrated to hold your presence. Exile was the womb where your voice was sharpened. Exile was the silence where your sight was trained. Exile was the waiting row where your spirit learned to hold the weight of what was coming. You thought you were alone, but in truth, you were being aligned. Here is the truth. The future demands early ones. Without pioneers, without those who disturb time, humanity would stay asleep. You were sent ahead not to break yourself, but to break the ground, to prepare the way, to open pathways no one else would touch. This is why you have survived what others did not. This is why you are still breathing after seasons that should have ended you. This is why numbers like 1559, 3207, and 441 refuse to leave you alone. Because your survival is evidence. You are not ahead by mistake. You are ahead because the future demanded your presence. So the next time someone calls you strange, remind yourself, strangeness is simply the name given to pioneers. The next time you feel rejected, remember, rejection is the evidence of your early arrival. The next time numbers chase you across screens, clocks, and receipts, no, you are not cursed. You are coded. You are not misplaced. You are marked. And as long as the M and the crescent moon remain carved into your hands, you will never escape the truth. You were chosen to disturb so that others could awaken. There will come a day when the world looks at you differently. The same voices that doubted you will begin to echo the truths you carried years before. The same people who mocked your questions will start asking them. The very structures that rejected you will attempt to replicate what you birthed in solitude. But you must remember something. You were not designed to be validated by late arrivals. You were designed to be faithful when the stage was still empty. You were designed to keep speaking when no one clapped. You were designed to keep walking when the path was invisible. Chosen ones marked with the M and the crescent moon have always been builders of invisible roads. And when reality finally catches up, you will realize it was never point recognition. It was always about alignment. Every time you felt misplaced, every time you felt like you were standing in the wrong timeline, you were actually standing in the right one. The codes like 7220, 1994, and 3517 are reminders of this. When 7220 repeats itself, it is telling you that cycles are closing in completion, even if the evidence has not yet appeared. When 1994 insists on appearing, it whispers that the year of pain was also the year of planting. And when 3517 follows you, it speaks of a door you will walk through that does not yet exist, but will appear because of your persistence. You were not misplaced. You were simply required to walk early so others could walk later. And yes, darkness will resist you. It has since childhood. Not because you are fragile, but because you are threatening. The resistance you faced was never proof that you were weak. It was confirmation that you were carrying something too large for the current atmosphere. Think about it. Accidents seem to follow you. Why did betrayal seem to strike you harder? Why did life press against you with unusual weight? Because what you carry is disruptive to systems that profit from silence. You did not come to repeat cycles. You came to shatter them. And that resistance has only made you sharper. There were nights you did not think you would survive. There were mornings you woke up with the weight of despair so heavy you thought it would crush you. And yet, you are still here. You survived because you are sealed. The M and the crescent moon are not simply markings on your hand. They are signatures of endurance. The codes that chased you are not accidents of time. They are anchors of survival. You lived through what others could not because you were required to disturb what others would not. Your survival is not just a personal victory. It is evidence of assignment. What you may not realize is that others have been watching you, silently, quietly, from the edges. Never have told you. They may never have confessed it, but your presence has already changed lives you did not even know were paying attention. The way you endured storms without giving up. The way you carried compassion when bitterness would have been easier. The way you spoke words that planted hope in people who had already given up on themselves. You have already been a signal, even when you felt like you were in hiding. You have been a lighthouse that never realized it was glowing. There is a mystery about chosen ones who arrive early. Heaven accelerates for them. What takes others years may come to you suddenly, almost violently. Not because you are better, but because your assignment required compression. Doors you did not knock on suddenly swing open. Conversations you never planned suddenly turn into divine encounters. Opportunities you did not chase suddenly chase you. This is not luck. This is alignment. The numbers like 848, 2071, and 5113 will continue to app. Confirmations that acceleration is in motion. 848 reminds you that balance and rebirth are meeting in one place. 2071 speaks of a path that bends toward your persistence. 5113 is the whisper of divine multiplication that cannot be explained by human planning. Acceleration is the reward for survival. Before we close, I want to ask something of you, but in a way that is personal, not scripted. If this message has spoken to your spirit, if it has found you in the middle of questions no one else seems to understand, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe, not because a platform demands it, but because your journey matters here. This space is not entertainment, it is alignment, and your presence strengthens the signal. When you subscribe, you are not just clicking a button. You are anchoring yourself to a community of chosen ones who carry the same marks and the same codes. And I want to hear your voice. Comment below. Share what numbers have been chasing you. Share the visio. Shook you awake. Share the ways you have felt out of place and yet divinely preserved. Let this become more than a broadcast. Let it become a dialogue among those who know what it means to be sealed. And if someone comments in despair, remember you are not here to argue with them. You are here to stand as a mirror of hope. Ignore the pessimism. Add light instead. That is what this space is for. So here we are, at the edge of this message. You, with the M and Crescent carved in your palms. You, with numbers that have followed you across screens, clocks, and papers. You, who thought you were too early, too strange, too misplaced. Now you know the truth. You were never too early. You were perfectly on time for an assignment that demanded disruption. You were marked not for entertainment, but for transmission. You were chosen to disturb the schedule so that others could awaken.